What's up, my fellow entrepreneurial friends? On this video, I want to ask you a question that is going to tell you just how far your divide is from where you are now and the dream lifestyle and business that you truly desire. As well as that, it's going to tell you exactly what's in the way, what the resistance point is between where you are now and actualizing / moving into the reality where you have or are experiencing that which you truly desire. Now, this is going to be most powerful for yourself if you pause the video and you ask yourself the question, you write it down, you continue on, okay? So here's the question. If I gave you $2 million right now, what would change? Now, I want you to answer this from a macro perspective, and then I want you to answer it from a micro perspective. What are the big things that would change if I gave you 2 million right now? And then what are the day-to-day things that would change? What would change in the way in which you wake up in the morning? What would change in the way in which you live your day? What would change in the way in which you run your business? What would change in the way in which you create or don't create content for your business? What would change in the way in which you work with your clients? What wouldn't change in the way you work with your clients? What would change in the way in which you relate to the world? What would change in the way in which you relate to your partners? What would change in the way in which you relate to your friends? To the way in which you relate to spirit, to nature? If I gave you 2 million right now, I want you to imagine your bank now says 2 million plus whatever you already had in there. What would change? Pause the video and have a good journal on it. And then return to this when you're done. Okay, cool. So you've journaled it. Fantastic. Now, the divide between where you are and where you potentially want to be will be found within the answer to this question. Because I'm at a point in my life, and I simply share this to you so that you can understand, but I'm at a point in my life where I was asked this question recently and nearly nothing changed. And if heaps changed for you, totally fine. We're going to get to it in just a moment, all right? But not much would really change for me. I realized that I'd have the money transferred in, I would work the money in a particular way, and then I would kind of just get on with what it is I was already doing. I would maybe upgrade the house, the environment that we live in, but even once that environment changes, there's not really a huge change that occurs for me. I can put my hand on my heart and say that I would still be focused on creating these YouTube videos every day. I would still be focused on sitting down and writing my book every single day. I can tell you that I would still be rising in the morning and taking my morning so slow and spending my time connecting with nature, connecting with the Tao, connecting with spirit, sipping tea slowly, presently. I would still be walking my daughter for an hour and a half first thing every morning. I would still be cuddling in bed with my daughter and my wife. I would still be living life relatively the same. There are a few shifts. But even when I was asked this question recently, I thought about the money coming in right now, and there wasn't even any urgency to purchase the house or whatever it is. For those that know, we're building Impact HQ, which is going to be a space for entrepreneurs off the side of our home, a space for entrepreneurs where we can gather and we can run events there and all the rest. However, even that, when I felt into receiving that 2 million, buying that house right now and creating that property, it felt like somewhat of a distraction. So it was a really beautiful process for me to reflect upon and go, fuck, not much would change. Not much would change at all. Now, for those of you who are like, fuck, well, what does this mean for me? I wrote heaps of shit down. Well, the good news is that through looking at all the shit that you wrote down, we can actually start to gain some awareness, to gain some insight into what it is that we need to shift. Okay? Now, I want you to be really honest with yourself and go through everything that you wrote down that would change if you had 2 million. And I want you to see the things within that are available to you right now already. Now, some of you may have written in all of these incredibly financially reliant things. You may have written an insane amount of them, right? You may have gone, I would have booked a holiday, and then I'd buy this, and then I'd invest in that, and then I would do this, and then I would do that, and then I would do this, and then I would have a new car, and then I would have new abundance, and then I would have new this, and then all of these things. If you had like a plethora of things, then my invitation with compassion, my invitation towards you is to explore whether you're currently sitting in a lot of internal lack. And therefore, the money would be able to give you abundance. The money would be able to give you abundance. Whereas the truth is, and I have made a lot of money in periods of my life, and I have made fuck all money in other periods of my life, and you've heard this story many times before, it didn't really change the happiness. And beyond happiness, it didn't really change the abundance within me, the feeling of abundance within me. Because abundance cannot be found merely in the material. It is our level of association and abundance and appreciation of the material that is already right in front of us. Because the reality is that if you're watching this video, you have an incredible amount of abundance in front of you right now. And I can already hear individuals saying, that's fine for you to say, Tom, when you're making all this money and you're doing all of these things and you're in all this alignment, but I don't have enough money to pay fucking rent next week. Well, you also are very likely watching this video through an iPhone. You are very likely watching this video knowing that there's going to be shelter over your head today. And I do not say this as a shaming process, but rather an invitation for you to sit within more abundance, because what this exercise has revealed to us is the reliance on money for your abundance, for your feelings of abundance. Now, I understand, because I have been through the process of not having abundance, for example, and we'll get into this more later on as we go, and the other angles to all of this, but I understand the feeling of not having the financial abundance and the fear and the lack that can come up through us when we're in that experience. However, I say to you that that experience is pointing the arrow to that which is our work right now in this moment. Our work right now in this moment, when we're experiencing external lack that's also having us feel internal lack, we know that our work right now is to shift, firstly, to shift that internal lack. We know that that's now our work. So how do we actually go about doing that? It's very likely that we're going to have to move through some fear disillusion exercises, some fear resolving exercises. And if you would like those exercises, we've got some meditations and things like that, and some deep dive audios around that. Jump into our Telegram space and simply ask for them, and I'll send them on through. Links are down below. But what the invitation is going to be is to start dissolving all of the fear, start dissolving all of the potential lack trauma that sits within us, start dissolving the part of us that needs material validation in the form of money to then experience, to allow ourselves to then experience the abundance. Okay? Again, I am at a place not only in my external environment, but absolutely more potently in my internal environment where I don't need much. I genuinely don't need much more than what I have. Now, I understand. I have a beautiful house near the beach in a beautiful part of the world. I understand that. But in the grand scheme of things, I could send this out endlessly and want more and more and more. I've had periods in my life where I've had a brand new custom built Mercedes Benz, and that did fuck all for me. In that period as well, I pretty much wore nothing other than $300 shirts. Like, I had all of the glitz and glam, and we were spending so much on experiences all the time, and it really did fuck all for me. So I've had that humbling process, and I've realized that the more I am in a place of non-needing, the funny thing is that more things come to me again and again and again. Now, let's trace back, and let's go back to where I said if you've got a lot of things that rely on income, that rely on you spending all of that money, then a lot of things would change. Well, that's one component. We've covered that briefly. The second component is, what if you've written down a lot of things that you would just now have the freedom to do because you don't have to get money in every day? So some people, for example, and I invite you to explore this in real time as well. You might not have written it down, but as I say it, you may connect to it. And this is probably more common, is some people write down like, oh, honestly, if I had 2 million in the account right now, I would never fucking worry about marketing again. I would never be showing up on my stories every day. I'd just go and fucking live, right? I don't even know whether I'd run this current program that I'm running. If I had 2 million in the account, I wouldn't even fucking bother running this program. Like, this program, I just wouldn't even do it. Okay? And as well as that, like, I would stop working with these clients. I'd probably limit myself to only working with 2 one-on-one clients at any point in time. If I had 2 million as well, I'd probably stop talking about X, Y, and Z on my content and working with A, B, and C types of individuals. And I'd reserve myself to only working with blah, blah, blah. So if the way in which you would work every single day is different, this reveals something else as well. If the way in which you rise every morning and then go about your day would change, if you wouldn't work as much, if you would work more presently, and especially if there are projects that you would work on because you've got the knowing that 2 million's just like backing you. If there's any of this going on, then your invitation now is to do those things now. Because again, for those new around here and who haven't seen the perpetual message that I've provided again and again, we live in a grand illusion. We have been subject since the moment that we were born, especially through our upbringing and through all of our schooling. And then even now as adults, when we look on social media and we see what everybody is saying and we see the news and we hear what this person's saying to us and our parents are still in our ear, we are under a grand illusion. And the grand illusion says, you cannot do this and you must do this. You must play the Instagram game or the Facebook game, and you must speak to and DM all of these people, and you must AIify your business, and you must scale, and you must hire people, and you must do this thing if you want this. If you want this, you must do this. If you want money in life, you must do this. If you want to be successful, you must hustle and grind. If you want, then you must. It is the law that we live by in this era. It's just repeated over and over and over and over and over again. If you want, then you must. But it's a fucking lie. Not only is it a lie, in most cases, the complete opposite is true. What I mean by this is that by slowing the fuck down and taking your mornings slow and being the version of you that has 2 million in the bank, by being that version of you and slowing down and working on only the projects that you truly want to work on, it is through being and having the nervous system of, and therefore generating the inspiration of being open to inspiration, source, energy, Tao, whatever you call it. It is through your relaxation and your opening to that you're actually able to create from the place that'll have the potential to have you in a reality where you do have 2 million in your account. This is the grand lie, this is the grand truth that everybody is covering up with the lie. The lie is, when you have the results, then you'll get to live like that. The real truth is that when you live like that, then you will have the results. When you live like that, then you will have the results. When you allow yourself to live and feel and embody, move through life as though you have everything that you have ever desired, then you will have it. Then you will likely have it. But so many of us, we're getting caught up along the way. We have all of this conditioning, micro traumas. We have all of these belief systems deeply embedded on how we must do things, how we must operate, what we have to do to achieve blah, blah, blah. We have all of this conditioning, this system that runs us embedded deep, not only within our mind, but in our entire nervous system, that stops us from becoming who it is that we truly desire. If this has been useful for you, you're probably going to like these videos. And if you want to dive deeper together, join our Telegram space below. We're having conversations like this every day. And for those that are serious to not just understand but truly transform, book a one-on-one deep dive with me down below. You and I will go to the fucking depths together. There are no sales on this call. This is not a discovery call. This is you and me investing and deep diving together. Other than that, I'll see you on the next one.